Welcome, seekers of divine purpose. In today's enlightening journey, we delve into the timeless wisdom of C.S. Lewis, renowned scholar and theologian. Prepare to unlock the secrets of your divine calling as we explore the 9 unmistakable signs that mark you as chosen by God. Join us as Lewis unveils the path to discovering your sacred destiny. This is C.S. Lewis, 9 Signs You Are Chosen by God. Let's begin. In the vast expanse of human emotions, love shines as the most luminous beacon, guiding us through the darkest nights and the stormiest seas. Yet, among the varied forms of love, there is one that transcends, one that illuminates the path to our divine calling, agape, or unconditional love. C.S. Lewis, in his profound exploration of love, highlighted agape as the purest form of love, a selfless, giving love that expects nothing in return. Agape is not born of emotion or bound by the ties of reciprocity. It is a love that flows freely, like a river nourishing the parched lands without asking for anything. It is the love that the Creator showers upon creation, a model for us to emulate in our interactions with the world around us. When you love unconditionally, you become a conduit of divine grace, a vessel through which the light of the heavens pours into the cracks of our broken world. This unconditional love is not merely an ideal, it is a call to action. It challenges us to look beyond our desires, to love even when the storms of life make it difficult. It is in these moments, when love becomes a choice rather than a feeling, that we truly reflect the image of the divine. So, if you find your heart drawn to love without condition, to give without the slightest thought of receiving, you may be heeding the call of a higher purpose. This selfless love is a sign, a beacon, signaling your role as a bearer of light in a world that often forgets the meaning of true love. Embrace this calling with open arms, for in loving unconditionally, we participate in the divine narrative, playing our part in the grand tapestry of creation that the author of all has woven with threads of grace, mercy, and, above all, love. In a world brimming with half-truths and echoes of wisdom long forgotten, the quest for unadulterated truth stands as a noble pursuit, a beacon cutting through the fog of uncertainty. C.S. Lewis, once a skeptic, embarked on a relentless search for truth, a journey that ultimately led him to the shores of faith. His transformation from doubt to belief underscores the profound role that an earnest thirst for truth plays in our spiritual odyssey. Lewis believed that our longing for truth is no mere coincidence but a divine echo within us, a homing signal from our Creator guiding us back to Him. This yearning is not satisfied by mere facts or data but seeks deeper understanding, wisdom that resonates with the core of our being. It's a journey that takes courage, for truth often challenges us to rethink our assumptions, to shed comfortable illusions in favor of a more profound reality. This thirst for truth is more than an intellectual exercise, it's a spiritual awakening, a call to align our lives with the eternal truths that govern the universe. When you find yourself driven by this insatiable desire to uncover what is real, to hold fast to what is good and reject what is false, consider it a sign of your calling. You are, perhaps, meant to be a seeker, a guardian of truth in an age where truth is often viewed as a matter of perspective. Embrace this calling with the tenacity of a scholar and the humility of a pilgrim. In your search for truth, you will find more than just answers, you will discover a path that leads you closer to your divine purpose, to the heart of God Himself. For in the pursuit of truth, we journey not just towards knowledge, but towards the very source of all truth, the author of our faith, who invites us to know Him and, in knowing Him, to find ourselves. In the tapestry of human experience, the threads of good and evil weave a complex pattern, revealing the stark contrasts that define our moral landscape. C.S. Lewis, with his keen insight into the human condition, illuminated the undeniable presence of a moral law, an innate sense of right and wrong that transcends cultural and personal preferences. This awareness, he argued, is not a social construct but a divine imprint, a guidepost embedded in our very being by the Creator. Lewis's exploration of morality in works like Mere Christianity sheds light on this internal compass that points us towards good and steers us away from evil. It's this moral awareness that whispers to us in moments of choice, urging us to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. When you feel the weight of this moral responsibility, when you are moved to stand against injustice and to champion the cause of the oppressed, it's a sign of a deeper calling. This awareness is not merely for contemplation but for action. It calls us to be agents of change, to embody the principles of the kingdom of heaven in a world marred by shadows. It's a call to be a light in the darkness, to uphold truth and justice in a world that often celebrates the opposite. If you find yourself restless in the face of wrongdoing, if your heart aches for righteousness, consider this your calling. You are perhaps destined to be a defender of the good, a warrior for truth in the great battle between light and darkness. This sensitivity to the moral fabric of the universe is not a burden but a gift, a divine beckoning to align your life with the eternal standards set by the author of all that is good and just. Embrace this calling with courage, for the path of righteousness is often fraught with challenges. Yet, in the pursuit of good, in the stand against evil, we find our truest selves and fulfill our part in the divine narrative, echoing the heart of God in a world that desperately needs His light. In the realm of human faculties, imagination stands as a celestial bridge, connecting the seen with the unseen, the temporal with the eternal. C.S. Lewis, a master storyteller and a devout thinker, revered the imagination not as mere fancy but as a vital instrument for apprehending spiritual realities. Through the wardrobe of imagination, Lewis ventured into Narnia, and in doing so, invited us all to see beyond the physical world to the deeper truths it signifies. Lewis's embrace of myth and story was rooted in his conviction that these are not just escapes from reality, but rather, they offer us a lens to perceive a greater reality. Imagination allows us to conceive of the heavenly kingdom, to grasp the essence of virtues like courage, sacrifice, and redemption in ways that mere abstract concepts cannot. When you are moved by a story, stirred by a melody, or captivated by a painting, it's more than aesthetic pleasure, it's your soul resonating with the echoes of a larger story. This power of imagination is not just for artists or writers, it's a divine gift to every human being, beckoning us to envision the world not just as it is, but as it could be. If you find yourself inspired to imagine, to create, to dream, it might be a sign of your calling to be a storyteller of the divine, a weaver of tales that reflect the greater truths of our existence. Embrace this gift of imagination with the responsibility and joy it entails. For in crafting stories, in painting pictures, in composing melodies that echo the divine narrative, you participate in the creative work of God Himself. You offer the world a glimpse of the unseen, a taste of the eternal, through the canvas of your imagination. So, if your heart swells with dreams and visions, if your mind wanders in realms of wonder and awe, heed this calling. You are perhaps chosen to be an ambassador of the invisible, tasked with the sacred duty of making the divine palpable through the power of imagination. In the landscape of human experiences, pain and suffering are among the most formidable terrains we navigate. Yet, within these shadowed valleys, there lies a profound potential for transformation and revelation. C.S. Lewis, through his own encounters with grief and loss, as poignantly expressed in A Grief Observed, came to understand pain not as a mere misfortune, but as a megaphone God uses to rouse a deaf world. Lewis contended that pain, in its raw and unvarnished truth, confronts us with the fragility of our earthly existence, stripping away the illusions of self-sufficiency and invulnerability. It is in these moments of vulnerability that we are often most open to the divine whisper, most aware of our need for something or someone greater than ourselves. Pain, thus, becomes not just an adversary but a guide leading us to the heart of God. This perspective on suffering invites us to view our own trials not as senseless tribulations but as part of a larger narrative of redemption and growth. When you find yourself facing hardships that shake the foundations of your world, consider it an invitation to deeper communion with the divine. It's in the crucible of suffering that our character is refined, our faith is deepened, and our dependence on God is solidified. Embrace this path, not as a passive resignation to fate, but as an active engagement with a God who is both sovereign and intimately present in our pain. For those who are called to walk through the valley of shadows, there is a promise of divine companionship and eventual emergence into a place of greater strength, compassion, and understanding. So, if your journey is marked by trials, if your heart is acquainted with grief, see it as a sign of your calling to bear witness to the redemptive power of God. Your pain, when surrendered to the Creator, can become a powerful testimony of faith, hope, and love that transcends the darkness. In the depths of every human heart lies a longing, a yearning that transcends the boundaries of time and space. It's a longing for something more, something beyond the fleeting pleasures and passing moments of this earthly existence. C.S. Lewis, with his keen insight into the human condition, recognized this longing as a divine echo, a signpost pointing us towards our ultimate destiny in God. Lewis famously described this longing as Sehnsucht, a German word that encapsulates a profound sense of longing for the infinite, the eternal, the unattainable. It's a longing that finds expression in our deepest desires, our noblest aspirations, our most heartfelt prayers. When we feel this stirring within us, when our souls ache for a home we've never known, it's a sign that we are made for something beyond this world. This longing for the eternal is not a mere flight of fancy or wishful thinking, it's rooted in the very fabric of our being, woven into the tapestry of our souls by the hand of the Creator. It's a reminder that we are pilgrims passing through this world, journeying towards a destination that lies beyond the horizon of time. When we embrace this longing, when we surrender to its pull, we open ourselves to the possibility of encountering the divine in ways we never imagined. So, if your heart resonates with this longing, if you find yourself yearning for a deeper connection with the eternal, consider it a sign of your calling to be a seeker of the divine. Your longing is not in vain, it's a sacred invitation to embark on a journey of discovery, a quest for meaning and purpose that ultimately leads us home to God. Embrace this longing with open arms, for in it lies the promise of fulfillment, the assurance of a destiny that transcends the confines of this mortal coil. And as you journey towards the eternal, may you find solace in the words of the psalmist, "In your presence is fullness of joy, at your right hand are pleasures forevermore." In the vast expanse of creation, there are depths of mystery that elude our finite minds, truths that lie beyond the reach of our comprehension. C.S. Lewis, with his profound humility before the mysteries of existence, recognized that there are aspects of God and his ways that surpass our understanding. He embraced these mysteries not with fear or frustration, but with a sense of wonder and awe. Lewis understood that mystery is not a barrier to faith but a pathway to deeper intimacy with the divine. It's in the mystery of God's presence, the mystery of His providence, the mystery of His love that we encounter the true depths of His being. When we stand in awe before the mysteries of the universe, when we acknowledge our own limitations in the face of the infinite, we open ourselves to a deeper experience of God's presence. This embrace of mystery is not a surrender to ignorance but a recognition of the inherent limitations of human knowledge. It's a willingness to journey into the unknown, to explore the uncharted territories of faith with courage and humility. When we embrace mystery, we invite God to reveal Himself to us in ways that transcend our understanding, to lead us into the depths of His truth and love. So, if you find yourself drawn to the mysteries of faith, if you are captivated by the unknown and the unknowable, consider it a sign of your calling to be a pilgrim of the divine mysteries. Your thirst for understanding is not in vain, it's a sacred invitation to venture into the depths of God's presence, to explore the mysteries of His kingdom and to encounter the awe-inspiring majesty of His being. Embrace this journey with faith and trust, knowing that in the mystery of God's presence, you will find the fulfillment of your deepest longings and the revelation of His boundless love. In a world often marked by division and discord, love stands as a beacon of hope, a force that transcends barriers and transforms lives. C.S. Lewis, with his profound understanding of the nature of love, recognized that true love is not merely a sentiment but a courageous commitment, a willingness to sacrifice, to endure, to give of oneself for the sake of another. Lewis's reflections on love, as articulated in works like The Four Loves, reveal that love is not always easy. It requires courage, the courage to forgive, the courage to empathize, the courage to stand against injustice. It's this courageous love that reflects the heart of God Himself, who so loved the world that He gave His only Son. When we exhibit courageous love in our lives, when we reach out to the marginalized, when we stand up for the oppressed, when we extend grace to the undeserving, we embody the very essence of our calling as followers of Christ. This courageous love is not passive or complacent, it's active and transformative, a force that has the power to heal wounds, mend brokenness, and reconcile estranged hearts. So, if you find yourself moved by compassion, if you are stirred to action by the plight of the suffering, consider it a sign of your calling to be a vessel of courageous love in a world in desperate need of healing. Your willingness to love sacrificially, to extend grace generously, is a testimony to the transformative power of God's love working through you. Embrace this calling with boldness and humility, knowing that in the courageous expression of love, you participate in the redemptive work of God Himself. And as you journey forth in love, may you be strengthened by the knowledge that you are not alone, for the God of love goes before you, empowering you to be a beacon of hope and healing in a world hungering for love. In the ebb and flow of life's uncertainties, there is a comforting truth that anchors the soul, the belief in divine providence, the conviction that God's hand is guiding our steps, even in the midst of chaos or confusion. C.S. Lewis, with his unwavering trust in God's providential care, understood that faith is not just a matter of belief but a courageous surrender to the loving sovereignty of our Creator. Lewis's writings, particularly in The Problem of Pain and the Screwtape Letters, illuminate the mysterious workings of divine providence in the tapestry of human existence. He reminds us that even in our darkest moments, God is at work, weaving together the threads of joy and sorrow, triumph and tragedy, into a masterpiece of redemption and grace. Trusting providence requires a leap of faith, a willingness to relinquish control, to surrender our plans and ambitions to the one who holds the universe in His hands. It's a recognition that God's ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are higher than ours. Yet, in this surrender, we find true freedom, a freedom from anxiety, from fear, from the burden of self-reliance. When we trust in God's providence, we are liberated from the tyranny of circumstance, knowing that even in the face of uncertainty, we are held secure in the palm of His hand. This trust is not blind or naive, it's a deliberate choice to believe in the goodness and faithfulness of God, even when the world around us seems to be crumbling. So, if you find yourself wrestling with doubt, if you are weighed down by the cares of this world, consider it a sign of your calling to trust in divine providence. Your willingness to surrender control, to place your life in God's hands, is a testimony to the power of faith to sustain and uphold us in every season of life. Embrace this trust with humility and gratitude, knowing that in entrusting your life to God's care, you are aligning yourself with His eternal purposes and finding refuge in His unfailing love. And as you journey forth in faith, may you be strengthened by the assurance that God is always with you, guiding you, protecting you, and leading you into the fullness of His will. In conclusion, as we reflect on the profound insights of C.S. Lewis and the timeless truths of the Christian faith, we are reminded of our calling to embrace our identity as chosen vessels of God's love and purpose. Through the lens of Lewis's wisdom, we have explored 9 profound signs that illuminate our path and guide us toward a deeper understanding of our divine calling. From recognizing the power of imagination to the courage of love, from embracing the mysteries of faith to trusting in divine providence, each sign beckons us to journey deeper into the heart of God, to discover the fullness of our purpose and potential as beloved children of the Most High. As we heed the call to be vessels of God's grace and light in the world, may we walk in humility and faith, knowing that we are not alone on this journey. May we draw strength from the example of C.S. Lewis, whose life and writings continue to inspire generations with their profound wisdom and unwavering faith. And as we navigate the challenges and uncertainties of life, may we hold fast to the promise that we are indeed chosen, called to fulfill a sacred mandate that transcends time and space. For in the end, it is not by our own strength or wisdom that we fulfill our calling, but by the grace and power of the One who has called us from the very beginning. So let us go forth with courage and conviction, trusting in the goodness and faithfulness of our Heavenly Father, knowing that He who has called us is faithful, and He will surely accomplish His purposes in and through us. And may the words of C.S. Lewis echo in our hearts, guiding us ever closer to the heart of God.
There is a huge debate about how Christians should act and behave, and what habits we should have to lead a virtuous life close to God. But little is said about the habits we already have that are extremely negative for our life and faith. Lewis writes, "It is not your current condition, but the direction in which you are moving that matters. Recognition of one's own errors is the first step to sanctification." In this video, I will talk about the habits you should avoid to have a fulfilling, happy life according to God's will. For according to Him, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Romans 12:2. The first habit we need to identify and eradicate is pride. Lewis believed that pride is the greatest obstacle between man and God. When someone places themselves at the center of their own universe, they automatically displace God from that position, making it difficult to submit to His will and recognize their dependence on Him. This creates a barrier in the relationship that is essential for spiritual life, hindering the flow of divine grace. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. In his words, pride, this cunning force that seduces us to place ourselves above others, acts as the catalyst for all other sins, establishing itself as a deeply contrary mental posture to the essence of the divine. It is through comparison, this almost instinctive impulse to measure ourselves against others, that pride gains ground, feeding on the pleasure of seeing oneself as superior. In this relentless race for supremacy, the elimination of competitive behavior emerges as the key to eradicating pride. Without the need to compete, this obsessive need to stand out loses its foundation. However, the nature of pride is such that even when an individual achieves more than they could ever aspire to, there is an insatiable thirst for more, a constant attempt to reinforce their position of power. The gaze of the proud, always directed from above downwards, reflects a posture of judgment and disdain towards others, an invisible barrier that isolates and distances. This elevated yet limited perspective obscures the view of any possibility of spiritual elevation or deep connection with the sacred. After all, by fixing our gaze on the ground, we lose the ability to lift our eyes to the sky, to that which truly matters and transcends our earthly existence. In this way, pride not only distances us from others, putting us on a pedestal of false superiority, but also distances us from the possibility of a genuine encounter with the divine. For those seeking spiritual growth, recognizing and combating pride becomes a fundamental step. This involves cultivating humility, practicing empathy, and opening oneself to vulnerability, recognizing that we are all equal in our search for meaning and connection. Only then can we begin to avert our gaze from the deceptive reflection of pride, directing our vision upwards in search of a deeper understanding of the purpose of our journey and the constant presence of the sacred in our lives. The second habit we should consider changing is neglecting spiritual disciplines. There are many, including prayer, reading and meditating on the Bible, fasting, service, worshiping God, confession, communion, and embracing simplicity. However, let's focus on the most important ones in Lewis's view, which highlights prayer, studying scriptures, meditation, and active participation in a faith community as essential practices in the Christian journey. These disciplines are the means by which we draw closer to God, understand His plan for us, and cultivate a deeper relationship with Him. For example, prayer is often described as the soul's breath, a continuous dialogue with the Creator that sustains us through life's ups and downs. Prayer is the heart of spiritual life, an intimate dialogue with God. It's not just about presenting our requests or thanks, but about cultivating an ongoing relationship with the Creator. In prayer, we open our hearts to God, sharing our innermost thoughts, fears, desires, and gratitude. This allows us to feel His presence in our lives more tangibly and receive direction, comfort, and peace. Regular prayer strengthens our faith and helps us stay focused on God, especially in difficult times. Studying scriptures, on the other hand, nourishes our minds and spirits, offering guidance, comfort, and wisdom to face everyday challenges. Scripture study is fundamental for any Christian seeking to grow in their faith. The scriptures are the living and active Word of God, capable of speaking into our lives today. Through diligent study of the Bible, we can understand the teachings of Jesus, the history of God's people, and the principles that should guide our behavior and decisions. This study equips us to face life's challenges with wisdom and to share our faith with others in an informed and convincing manner. Meditation allows us to slow down and deeply reflect on our life and purpose, promoting a sense of inner peace and clarity. Christian meditation is a contemplative practice that helps us focus our minds and hearts on God. By meditating on Scripture, on God's works in creation, or on aspects of Christ's life, we delve more deeply into the mystery of faith. Meditation allows us to slow down amid the busyness of modern life, providing space to hear God's silent voice. This practice enriches our spiritual understanding and can transform how we live, allowing Christian values and teachings to permeate our being and actions. And participating in a faith community connects us with other believers, allowing us to share our journeys, learnings, and mutual support. The Christian faith was never meant to be lived in isolation. Participation in a faith community offers support, encouragement, and opportunities to serve and grow spiritually alongside other believers. These communities are places where we can share our struggles, celebrate our joys, and learn from one another. Through collective worship, group Bible study, and community activities, we are reminded that we are part of a larger body, the church, called to reflect Christ's love in the world. Neglecting spiritual disciplines is, in many ways, to forego the tools that have been given for our growth and strengthening in faith. Without these practices, our connection with God may become superficial or distant, our understanding of His will may become blurry, and our ability to face life's adversities with grace and courage may diminish. The third habit that deserves our attention is rampant consumerism, a practice quite distant from the principles advocated by C.S. Lewis and the Christian tradition. Consumerism will distract you from your spiritual purpose. It can easily become an idol as it occupies the center of a person's life, displacing God from that position. When the accumulation of material goods becomes the primary priority, spiritual purpose and the pursuit of a deeper relationship with God can be neglected. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6:24. It changes your values. Materialism, greed, and selfishness are contrary to the Christian teachings of contentment, generosity, and love for others. Consumerism encourages a mindset of never being satisfied, which is incompatible with the gratitude and satisfaction found in God. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. Philippians 4:11, 13. It creates barriers to altruism and generosity. The focus on accumulating wealth can lead to neglecting the needs of others, creating barriers to the exercise of generosity and love for others, which are fundamental in Christianity. Rampant consumerism often results in a cycle of self-indulgence that limits the ability to look outside oneself and serve others. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Mark 12:31. You will feel empty, incomplete, and distant from God. The relentless pursuit of more material goods can lead to a sense of chronic dissatisfaction and spiritual emptiness. This is because material goods, no matter how abundant, can never fully satisfy the deep spiritual and emotional needs of human beings. Only an intimate relationship with God can offer the true satisfaction and purpose that the human heart longs for. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 5:10. The Bible in Hebrews 13:5 exhorts us to keep our lives free from the love of money and to be content with what we have. For God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." Habit 4. Indifference to others. Indifference can manifest in various ways, from failing to offer help when one has the capacity to do so, to ignoring the emotional or physical needs of others. In an increasingly interconnected world, where news of injustices and sufferings is constantly at our fingertips, it becomes easy to fall into apathy or disinterest, justifying inaction with the feeling that the problem is too big or that the effort of a single person won't make a difference. From a Christian perspective, indifference to others is problematic for several reasons. Firstly, it directly contradicts the second greatest commandment, as mentioned by Jesus. Love your neighbor as yourself. This commandment leaves no room for indifference. Instead, it demands a proactive attitude of care and compassion. Furthermore, indifference weakens the community. Christianity emphasizes the importance of community and mutual support, the idea that we are all members of one body in Christ. That's why the practice of the disciplines we mentioned earlier is so important for strengthening your faith, family, community, and society in general. They are our tools and swords to confront evil and make the world a better place. Jesus Christ lived and taught the antidote to indifference, active compassion. He approached the marginalized, healed the sick, and fed the hungry, demonstrating a love that moves towards the other, regardless of their status or condition. Society's indifference to these issues, and even to Jesus himself, culminated in his crucifixion, an ultimate act of rejection. Through his example and sacrifice, Jesus highlighted the gravity of indifference and the call to combat it with love and action. The fifth habit deserving our attention is the promotion of skepticism as a virtue, especially when it leads to total distrust towards faith and Christian teachings. The Bible encourages us to have faith, even when we cannot see or fully understand. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is presented as a trust in God and His promises, a belief that transcends what is immediately evident or probable to human eyes. Skepticism, often misunderstood as synonymous with cynicism or total disbelief, can be considered a virtue when understood as a questioning and investigative approach to knowledge, beliefs, and assertions. In this context, skepticism doesn't reject truth, but encourages rigorous pursuit of it, demanding evidence and logical reasoning before accepting any claim as true. This approach can be particularly valuable in various areas of life, including spirituality, science, and everyday matters. A skeptic, in the virtuous sense of the term, doesn't dismiss information outright, but approaches it with an open and questioning mind. This involves critically evaluating evidence before forming an opinion or belief. This stance promotes deep understanding and prevents blind acceptance of potentially false or misleading ideas. Lewis delved into a profound faith in Christ. Interestingly, it was his intellectual skepticism that played a crucial role in this transition. Lewis was naturally questioning and possessed a sharp and analytical mind, qualities that initially led him to atheism. However, these same qualities also paved the way for his conversion to Christianity. Lewis was an academic par excellence, with deep respect for logic, evidence, and the pursuit of truth. His skepticism encouraged him to constantly question beliefs and ideas, including his own atheistic assumptions. He was dissatisfied with the simplistic answers of both atheism and materialism to life's fundamental questions about the universe and human existence. In his quest for answers, Lewis began to realize the limitations of materialism and naturalism, the belief that everything in the universe can be explained solely by natural processes and physical laws. He questioned whether such worldviews were sufficient to encompass the full human experience, including morality, beauty, love, and spirituality. Lewis's skepticism didn't operate in a vacuum. He was greatly influenced by friends and colleagues, including J.R.R. Tolkien, a devout Catholic, who challenged Lewis to reconsider Christianity not just as a moral mythology, but as historical truth and divine revelation. Through long conversations and debates, Lewis was encouraged to apply his intellectual rigor to examining the claims of Christianity. Eventually, Lewis concluded that the Christian faith offered a more coherent and satisfying worldview than atheism or agnosticism. He was particularly drawn to the idea of the incarnation, God becoming man in Jesus Christ, which he saw as the key to understanding human nature and purpose. For Lewis, Christianity made logical sense and satisfied the longing for something beyond the material. His transition from skeptic to believer was not instantaneous, but a gradual process of questioning, reflection, and ultimately, acceptance. Lewis described his conversion not as a blind leap of faith, but as the most reluctant convert in all of England, coming to the Christian faith, kicking, struggling, resentful, and darting his eyes in every direction. The sixth habit that we need to reassess and transform is the lack of forgiveness. Lewis often emphasized forgiveness as essential to the Christian life, reflecting the forgiveness that God offers us. According to him, forgiveness is a necessity for our own spiritual and emotional liberation. Forgiveness frees us from bitterness and allows us to live in peace with ourselves and others. The inability to forgive is a deeply rooted issue that can have devastating effects on the life of a Christian, both spiritually and emotionally. Within the Christian context, forgiveness is not just recommended. It is a commandment that reflects the very heart of the gospel. Jesus taught his followers to forgive, highlighting it as an essential practice in the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. Matthew 6:12. Therefore, refusing to forgive not only disobeys a central principle of Christianity, but can also lead to destructive consequences for the individual. The lack of forgiveness creates a barrier between the individual and God. In Christianity, forgiveness is an expression of divine love. By refusing to forgive, the Christian distances themselves from this love. This can lead to a stagnant spiritual life, where communion with God is hindered, limiting the ability to fully experience His grace and mercy. Resentment and bitterness are direct consequences of the inability to forgive. These feelings can consume a person, affecting their mental, physical, and spiritual health. The Bible warns against bitterness, as in Hebrews 12:15, which says, "See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many." Resentment can poison all areas of a Christian's life, including their relationships, peace of mind, and ability to love themselves and others. The inability to forgive not only affects the individual's relationship with God, but can also destroy human relationships. Forgiveness is essential for healing and restoring relationships. Without it, past offenses and hurts continue to fester, preventing reconciliation and the building of trust. This can result in isolation, loneliness, and a destructive cycle of broken relationships. Refusing to forgive impedes personal and spiritual growth. Christianity sees forgiveness as an essential step in the process of sanctification, the journey of becoming more like Christ. Without a willingness to forgive, the Christian finds themselves trapped in a state of spiritual immaturity, unable to progress towards a deeper understanding of God's love and mercy. Habit 7. Resistance to change. Resistance to change is a common but profoundly limiting challenge that can impact the life of a Christian in various significant ways. In the journey of faith, change is not only inevitable, but often a sign of spiritual growth and transformation. However, when Christians resist change, it can lead to negative spiritual, emotional, and relational consequences, affecting their walk with God and their role within the faith community. One of the most severe consequences of resistance to change is spiritual stagnation. Christianity is a living faith, presupposing a dynamic and ever-evolving relationship with God. Resistance to change can cause a Christian to become stuck in patterns of behavior, thought, and spirituality that do not reflect growth or deepening of this relationship. Without change, the spiritual journey risks becoming routine and lifeless, depriving the Christian of new understandings and experiences that stimulate faith. Resistance to change can also lead to missing opportunities to serve and contribute to the community. The movement of the Spirit often calls us out of our comfort zone, leading us to new ministries, forms of service, or mission fields. By resisting these changes, Christians may miss precious opportunities to make a difference in the world and live according to their spiritual callings. Change is a natural part of life and relationships. When Christians resist change, it can cause tension and conflicts with friends, family, and members of the faith community who are growing and changing. The inability to accept and adapt to changes in others can lead to isolation, misunderstandings, and the deterioration of important relationships. Resistance to change can negatively impact Christian witness. Christianity is a faith that manifests through love, compassion, and relevance to the world around. A Christian who resists change may appear outdated, inflexible, or irrelevant to contemporary issues and challenges, compromising their ability to effectively witness the gospel. In summary, while change can be uncomfortable and challenging, embracing it is essential for spiritual growth, effective ministry, and vibrant Christian witness. Resisting change not only hinders personal growth, but also limits the impact Christians can have on their communities and the world. Therefore, Christians are encouraged to remain open to the movement of the Spirit, embracing change as an opportunity for growth, transformation, and faithful living. If this video has been helpful to you in any way, I would be very grateful if you could help me as well. Please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving your like, and sharing your feedback in the comments. I am interested to know if the quality of the message was satisfactory for you or if there is anything I can improve upon. Additionally, if you are interested in deepening your knowledge of C.S. Lewis's Christian teachings, be sure to check out the